Hey everybody, welcome back to BigRedEDC, and welcome to this edition of Let's Talk Rough Rider Knives. I did tell you that I've got a few of the new Rough Rider reserves in to check out, and this one is the next one in line. This is the Rough Rider Reserve RRR039 Red Jigged Bone Balboa. Oh, am I liking this knife? I'll just tell you that right off the bat. But let's take a look at it. Overall, we're gonna look at the fit and finish. You guys know I'm digging the red jig bone. Now it is a little bit darker than I got this guy here, where they were calling the brown jig bone. Okay, there's definitely a difference there. So just wanted to point that out. But overall, let's look at this. Our transitions are nice. Our pins are done very well. Even in that jigging, that pin is set pretty nicely in that jigging. The shield as well. And the jigging can throw the pins off like that. It can make them set high, but I tell you what, these are done pretty darn well. Again, transitions are done very good. Now let's check out the back spring. You will notice we do have a little bit of minor gapping right in there. On this side, there is a tiny bit of gapping in there. I still really like this knife, and we'll trust me, we'll get to that. Well, it'll probably be in the title. I don't know. We'll see. Overall, it is done pretty darn well. We do have some minor gapping. You've got the brass liners. It's a good look. It's a really good look. But this thing has got a wicked, wicked blade, and the reason I like it so much, this thing is an amazing, amazing rope knife. Of course, you see there, you have got the match strike pull, and that pull, I'd go 6.5. Nice, pretty decent snap. Comes open very, very nicely. Right into that half stop. Oh, but look at that blade. I know, it's a little bit of a different looking cleaver blade because we've got quite a swoop in the spine. But oh my goodness, for someone that works with rope for a living, holy cow, this thing destroys rope. I mean, you've got that nice belly on that blade. I mean, pretty much the contour of the blade, just as the blade flows. Man, this thing does a number on rope. Very, very good. What I would call a sailor's knife for sure. We don't have a marlin spike. Okay, you guys know I do like my marlin spike, but oh man, just rope alone, holy cow. And you do have this little area here where you can actually choke up on it if you'd like to. I mean, my finger is pretty much small enough that it sits in there very comfortably, so you can get forward on it. You've got a pretty nice choil going on there. Do have a bit of a swedge on that blade. D2, of course. Made in China, absolutely. But it's an odd-looking knife. Oh, but for me, oh, it's a worker. Oh, it's a worker. So, what do we got as far as specs go? 7 5/8. That's what I'm calling it. We're right in between. You've got about a 4 1/4 on the handle, and then you've got about 3 3/8 on the blade. Cutting edge, you're looking at 3 1/4. But man, that belly, it cuts. It cuts. Oh, it cuts. Yeah, it does. So, grip length, you're looking at, oh, looky there. You're looking at right about 3 3/8. You guys know that is just my absolute sweet spot. The curvature of that handle just cradles my hand. Oh, this is a worker. And like I said, when I'm cutting rope, I do tend to choke up, if I can. And man, that does wonders. So I did bust this guy out. This is the gentleman's hawkbill. We've seen this one already, the 038, just to give you a little bit of a size difference between those two. But a little bit difference in size from the old Hawkeye to the Balboa. But we'll get a little bit more we'll just go handle to handle there. A little bit bigger than the bug out, of course. And it kind of looks like we're going to have a Balboa sandwich because the PM2 is just a little bit bigger. Blade-wise, you know, the Balboa really does kind of have it in cutting edge with that nice belly, for me anyway. And then handle length, obviously, it's close to a ½ inch longer in the handle. But we'll get a weight on it. Overall grams, that's where we'll start. 139, got a little bit of weight to it. 4.9 ounces. But for me, that's great. I mean, it's a work knife. So that absolutely is fantastic for me. Of course, this is going to be a pocket dropper or a slip carry. I will tell you, I've been pocket dropping it. I would rather slip carry it, but really don't have a slip that it fit real nicely into. So I was just pocket dropping and being, I mean, I would consider this a work knife. But the action on this thing goes into that half stop pretty well. Snaps shut. Like I said, this is probably, you know, I'm going to call it in between a 6 and a 7. Like I said, I'm not an expert. But the overall walk and talk, it does go kind of slow. Feels like it might need to be cleaned out a little bit. Like I said, I don't alter these before I show them to you. I bet if I kind of blew out that pivot, I bet I'd get a little bit smoother action on it. It just feels a little bit gritty in there. I mean, you know what I mean. You know what I'm saying. Little bit gritty. But overall, man, the comfort of this knife. Two biggest qualities of this knife for me. Comfort. It's got to be ergonomically correct. And it is for me. And it's a worker. Oh my goodness. Those are the two absolute best points of the Balboa for me. Now, granted, not everybody cuts rope 50, 60 times a day. I get it. But man, I mean, trust me, it does other things very well. Trust me, it'll open a package. It'll cut open an envelope. You know, 80% of what people do in a day, it's going to do it without even questioning that it did anything. But man, I've got to tell you, as far as a worker, it absolutely is fantastic for me and what I do. You know, I mean, I can only give you my experience with it. And of course, it's a sample size of 1. So if any of you out there have a Balboa, I would love to hear from you. Give me your thoughts on the one that you got. Always like to hear what you guys think. If you have the knife, what are your thoughts? You know, is your pull? What do you think your pull is? I mean, I had a discussion with somebody about that. You know, he's like, man, I forget which knife it was. Was it the Hawkeye? It might have been the Hawkeye. He's like, man, I don't know if if my 6 is his 7 or whatever, but he says I think he said his was like a 7, 7.5. Mine's definitely not that strong. It's a good in between 5 and 6. That's the Hawkeye I'm playing with. So, you know, it does vary. I get it. And like I said, with this one, I think if I blew out that pivot, it'd be a little bit smoother in the action. But other than that, like I said, very minor gapping on it. You know, this one's rolling in at $54.99. When we start getting to that stuff, that's something we don't want to see. Of course, absolutely, 100%. The way this thing went to work for me, though, you know, I'm not too mad. I'd like to see it better, you know. We'll go back to the Hawkeye. I mean, this Hawkeye is pretty much dead on, which is that's what we like to see from Rough Rider Reserve for sure. But again, guys, give me your thoughts. Always love to hear from you. Really appreciate you stopping by and checking out the Rope Killer Balboa, the Rough Rider Reserve 039 with me today. As always, like, subscribe, leave me that comment. You know I love talking to you. Until next time, I'll talk to y'all later, guys. Bye-bye.